Hello everybody, welcome to Studio C in beautiful West Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So today we're going to work with lives in GameMaker. So I've got this version of the game going where I do have the bad guys shooting, but the bullets don't do anything. So the bad guys' bullets are here. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the way that lives work, and they're also related to this concept as health. Health and lives work are relatively easy to understand as long as you remember that they are instance variables. So what that means is my ship has its own life variable and its own health variable. The fish can have their own health and their own lives variables. So you have to make sure that you're always dealing with the right variable when you're colliding with a bullet or if I'm colliding with the fish themselves, etc., things like that. Now, using those variables are relatively easy to work with. Drawing them onto the screen is a little bit harder, so we're going to kind of deal with those in sort of two separate little steps. I'm going to focus on lives, and then at the end I'll just talk about how health is related as well. All right, let's get started. All right. So the trick with working with health and life is you always need to set that health and life for the particular object you want to work with in the create event. So I have my ship object up, and I've got my create event up here ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the action um, uh, lives, and you will find a set lives, which is like a set variable we've done before. So there's set lives here, set lives. There's also a get lives if you want to kind of figure out what your current lives are, and there's an if lives variable, which we're going to use later on to kind of end the game or to do something. You've also got your draw and health and draw lives as well. Again, anytime you're working with draw objects or draw actions, you're going to need to use a separate object. So I'm going to show you how to do that separately. So I don't want my ship to draw its own life, which seems strange, but what happens if I do that is it overrides the built-in draw event, and then it gives me problems in other areas. So I recommend you do it separately. All right, so we're in the create event, and we're simply going to set the lives. Now, whenever you're testing one of these projects, you want to set these lives very to a small number to start with, so you can test it easily. So I'm just going to set the lives to be 3. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add an event so that when the ship collides, so where's my collision event? Down there with, in this case, it's the bad bullet. If you have more than one bullet or more than one thing, make sure you choose the right action, or right event, sorry. Now, here's what's crucial. When it collides, you need to do two things. You need to do, number one, you have to set your lives relative. So we make our lives -1. That's the first thing. Secondly, you need to make sure you destroy the bullet. If you don't destroy the bullet, what actually happens is the bullet keeps colliding as it passes through the object, and it'll actually potentially end all of your lives within one pass of the bullet. So you have to make sure you destroy your bullet. So I start with set lives. It's up here in my recent, so I can just use that, and we say -1 relative. So remember, the word relative means in relation to its current situation. So we're going to subtract the lives off of this. And then what we need to do is destroy, but we don't want to destroy self, because if we destroy self, it's be the object. It's going to destroy other. So if you remember from previously, you can affect what it affects using this drop down area. So let me just go get the destroy action, and oops, I didn't spell it right. There we go. There's the destroy instance. We pull that down, and you have to make sure you choose destroy other. Now, again, the common mistake to make when you're not used to doing this is to maybe say, I want to destroy all of the bad bullets. But if you click on this particular one that I'm hovering over right now, it would destroy every bullet on the screen all at once. We don't want to do that. We simply want to destroy other. So other in relation to a collision event means destroy the thing that you're colliding with. So remember, we're in the ship. We're colliding with the bullet, so we want to destroy other. Okay? Now, this is also where you could decide to check to see if you have any more lives left. It's probably a good place to do it. The other thing to do is if you're working with health is you'd have to make sure you set your health back. So what you'd happen if you're working with health is you'd say collide with health, subtract from health. If health equals 0, subtract from lives. And when you set your life back down by 1, you'd have to reset your health back to your 100 or whatever that is. So make sure that when you're working with health, that if you work with health and lives, that when you lose a life, you also have to reset your health. That's an important thing. Again, otherwise it's the same kind of variable, works the same. Health is usually measured out of 100, not necessarily. And so you'd say when you destroy a bullet, you'd say maybe subtract 25 from your health, minus 25 relative from health. Okay, so let's show you how the if statement would work. I'm going to go back to lives, and this would be the same thing if you're working with health. you'd say if lives, and so there's a not, there's an equals is a 0. I always like to say if less than, or actually we can even say less than or equal to 0. So if lives is less than or equal to 0, do something. Okay, and what we want to do in this case is maybe we want to we could do a message text. Whenever we showed that in earlier things, or maybe it has a pop-up window that says sorry, game over. But for our purposes, we're simply going to do the game over here, exit game action. Okay, so if I collide with bullet, I lose 1 life and we destroy the bullet. Then we check to see if lives is less than or equal to 0. If it is, we end the game. Let's give this a go. Now, one of the things you might want to add into this is the movement of your character. So sometimes you want your character to go back to the beginning when it collides with the bullet. So let's see if I can get that bullet here. Oh, sure. Too good at this game. Okay, so there's 1 life. Oh, that seemed like that did it automatically. Let me double check that. And we may have to check something on here. That says self. That's good because that did not seem to work properly. And if this is giving me an issue, I may have to go and double check something. There may be an issue with the global lives variable and the local lives variable. So let me just see if this, there's one. Aha, so something is going wrong. So let me pause the video here and I'll figure out what I did wrong. Okay, I think I know what I made. I made the classic mistake of not putting the exit underneath the lives. So again, this is part of the interface with the way that the if lives works. We need to say, put that here so it's indented underneath if lives. So if lives equal to 0, exit game. Let's try this again now. So classic mistake. I'm not a huge fan of the way that visualization works. That you have to pull the if, whatever you want to apply to the if statement, you have to pull to the side of the if statement. You can do more than one thing to the side of the if statement, like if you want several things to happen, but you do have to do that there. So because I didn't, what happened is there you go, there's 2 collisions. Yeah, let me just explain how this is. Because this was not indented underneath this, what happens is it ran all 4 things. It set lives, it destroyed instance, it checked lives, but then didn't do anything if it was, and then the exit game was a separate thing. Because I dragged it to the right of this, it becomes embedded under the if statement, and therefore that works. Okay, so there's the basics of lives. Again, health works the exact same way. What you would do though is you'd have set health to -1 or minus whatever much health you want to lose when you get collision. Again, you probably want to destroy. You might want to do a jump to start. So in case you're not sure to that, depending on the games, it's quite common to do a jump to start position with your good guy, right, when they lose a life. So maybe you kind of pull that in there as well. And then you do an if. If it's health, you'd say if health is less than or equal to 0, set lives to -1, set health back to your 100. Then you'd have a separate if statement that says if lives is less than or equal to 0, you end your game. Okay, so health otherwise works the same. Now let's talk about drawing these things to the screen. Okay, now in order to draw health, I'm not going to work with health entirely, but I'm going to create the health variable just so that I can show you how to draw health. So there's set health, so I'm going to set health to be 100. Again, I'm not going to work with health in my actual code other than to show you how it gets drawn. So what you want to do is you want to draw something on the screen that indicates your current state of your health and your lives. Now, the most common thing to do with lives is to have little icons, little pictures of your ship in this case, and your health is to have a health bar. So I'm going to show you how to do that. But I want to show you what happens if you do it wrong, okay? So whenever you use these drawing events, you have to use these drawing actions, you have to use what's called the draw event. So I'm going to go down to draw. There's a bunch of extra ones here. I just usually hit the first one, the draw event. So this is the action I'm going to do is going to be correct, but the result is going to be a problem for me. So I'm going to do the lives one because it's a lot easier to see. So there is my draw instance lives. All right, so we pull this in. Okay, it says what sprite do you want to use for your lives? I want to use my ship thing. Stack order means you want it to go horizontally across the screen, or do you want it to go vertically down the screen, and where do you want that to be drawn? So I'll just do a little bit off the top corner. And again, when I run this, I believe we're going to see that it doesn't actually do what I want it to do. And yes, okay, so draw instance lives should run. There we go. So there's my lives, but where did my ship go? It's not there anymore. Oh, you'll notice my lives are disappearing up in the top corner though. So it's actually kind of working. And let's see if it dies when I don't know, I'll just start drawing around. Can't even see, so let's not worry about goof. Oh, there you go, I finally died. Okay, so it worked, but you'll notice that it stopped drawing the ship. Now, there are ways, so what happens is when you use the draw event, it's called overriding the existing drawing event. And the existing drawing event says draw my sprite and do everything I want. Chances are you might be able to just bring in a draw sprite action here as well, but you often can cause you problems if you're doing more complex things. So I'm going to move this to a different location entirely. In fact, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete this draw event, and actually be important if you did that already with me, you do delete that draw event. Okay, so everything else is here, and instead what I like to suggest you do is create an object that will draw things to your screen. So I'm going to call this an OBJ level 1 draw. Got quite a long name for it, but that's okay. And I'm not going to give it any sprite. Okay, so no sprite. Now because it has no sprite, when I go to my room, and this is important you don't forget, there's my level 1 room, I'm going to pull this object in, and I'm going to put it over here. I think I might have told you to put it just off the screen. I can't remember if I told you to put it on the top right or top left last time, but as long as you're being consistent, let's see if I do I have it? No, because it was my other room. So there it is. There's that little question mark. And if you haven't seen my video working with the title page earlier, you might not have seen this before. So when you have a sprite with an object with no sprite and you pull it in, it leaves a little question mark just saying, hey, there's no sprite. I usually leave these just off of the top edge, either top right or top left of your room, so you can see them visually that they're there, and you can easily find them if you need to make a change. You have to have this object in the room though, otherwise it doesn't do its job. Okay, so now let's go back to that object. So what do we want to do? Well, now we want it to draw. So now we say add event, and we use its draw event to draw whatever we want. In this case, we want to draw lives. And see if I still have it there. Draw instance lives. There we go. And we'll grab that same sprite, and we'll do exactly what we did. Stack order 25, 25. And before I add anything else to it, I'll just show you that it's working. And this is how you draw lots of other things too. So this is what I suggest if you want to have score, if you want to draw score to the screen, you do the exact same thing, right? You add this drawing action, drawing event to the screen. I'm going to show that in one more last video in my series. So there we go. There's oh, it's not drawing. Let's see, what did I do wrong? Let's see, what did I do wrong? Draw ship, draw lives. Okay, bear with me a second. I'll figure out what. Okay, got it. Yep, made a silly thing. So when I say draw lives, even though I told it to draw the sprite of the ship, it actually is not drawing the ship's lives. It's drawing this instance's lives. Remember I said every single object has its own lives variable? So what I'm actually drawing is the lives of the OBJ level 1 draw object, which of course has 0 lives, so it didn't draw anything. So you have to click on your down arrow and say make sure you're applying this to the ship. So what that says is grab the ship's lives, but draw that ship's lives in this. So now just to show you that's working, it will now work. So I changed that to say draw the ship's lives, but with that little drop down arrow. And here we go. There's my lives up on the screen, and we're looking good. And it should be good if I get collided by these guys. There we go. There, I lose my lives. All right, let's just show you what health looks like. It's really a little bit harder just to get your head around. That's why I just thought I'd show it to you. So, oops, that's the set health. Let's go get draw health. Okay, so there's my draw health. Now you can draw health as a word, or you can draw it as a health bar. I'm not actually sure the difference of these two. Draw health bar. Let's try this one. Draw instances health. So what this does is now this one's a lot more complicated than draw lives, which is why it's worth doing this. So basically what it wants to know is where do you want this rectangle to be. So it's asking you to draw a bar, and you'll notice that this is 4 coordinates. So first of all, I better make sure I say apply to the ship. Okay, and so I've already got my lives over kind of near 25, 25. So let's go, maybe I'll go quite a bit further over to the right side of the screen. So maybe I'll put this at like 800. Remember, my whole screen is 1,000 wide. So 800 left, and we'll still say 25 at the top. The right, then, it depends how many pixels you want this to go. So maybe I'll say 900, so it'll be 100 pixels wide, and maybe it'll be 25 pixels tall. Now, this is just the color that you want the bar to be. Now, it defaults to all to FFF, which is white, I believe. So what you can do is say, I want the background of the bar, and you'll see what I mean by this if I make some very specific color choices here. And I'm just going to kind of randomize a few of these things so you can see the difference. And the min color is like when you're getting low on health. And your max color, I'm not actually sure what min color and max color is, actually, to be honest with you. Oops, that didn't work. Oh, come on. There we go. And max color is, I'll make that a white just to see what happens here. Okay, so now let's run this again. Make sure I did choose this to be shipped. Yep, sounds good. Run the game, and you'll see that the way the health bar reacts. And remember, I don't have anything. Oh, you know what? You're not going to be able to see all the results because I don't have a way of losing health. So this is a bad demo. But there's what the bar looks like. It's white because I'm at max color. So if I, yeah, so I don't have a way to do it. But essentially, what's going to happen is this bar is going to get smaller and smaller, and it's going to reveal more of the background, etc. color as it progresses. All right. Sorry for that sound interruption. We're having some renos done in our basement, and they chose that moment to do some loud stuff. So, but that's okay. We're wrapping the video up now. So that's your introduction to drawing. I'm going to have with Saurian Lives. We're going to do a second video here shortly that talks about some of the other subtleties of using the drawing event, and that'll be it. So thanks very much for watching. Have a good one.